Personally, I've had several revelations about hell. Why not having direct experience by having an NDE and then going there? Well, subsequently, I've had revelations from God on how hell looks like, and it is not a place that you should be in. Whatever you have to do in this world to not get to that point of being in hell, you should. You should, because actually, God did not create hell for humans. You take yourself there by the decisions, the choices you make, the way you live your life, the way you treat God, and the way you treat people. It's hell is not something that people go in one day. No, it's something that people go into gradually. It's a gradual process. So each wrong decision, each wrong choice takes you a step closer to hell. And you might not know it. You might not know that it's that disastrous until you're at the edge, probably on your deathbed, or probably you've passed on. That's when you're going to actually know. Unless you found favor in the eyes of God that He can show you through maybe a revelation, through NDE, for you to understand. Now, many people do say, how is hell like? Well, first and foremost, it's a darkness. It's a darkness that no one can explain. It's a darkness that has never been seen in this world. Nothing that your physical eyes are seeing and you have experienced in this world. No. And Jesus Christ talks about that, okay, in the parable of, the 10 talents and certain parables, okay. He's talked about the internal darkness, the separation, the darkness, the gnashing and the weeping of teeth. Well, you got to see this. Just watch this.
He's he calls it a darkness that's darker than black. And I've heard people commonly say that. Jesus called it the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, meaning like just, I don't know, I guess just horrific. And that's what he experienced. Near-death experiencers are reticent to come forward because this is a sacred experience that is hard to describe in our three-dimensional terms. So they don't often come forward readily. But even of those who have come forward, 23%, according to one study, came forward talking about having a hellish experience to some degree or another. And so these are common. This 2019 European Academy of Neurology did a study across 35 countries, found that 5% of the population, or 1 out of 20, claims to have had a near-death experience. But they also found an even greater percentage that had hellish experiences or negative experiences. So you got to make sense of these as well. Interestingly, Jesus talked about hell a lot as something real, but not as a scare tactic. I think it's more as a look. This is reality, and what he came to do was that no one would go there. But some do in their near-death experience. So, for instance, I interviewed this atheist college professor, tenured college professor, who was he was an art professor who was doing a tour with students in Europe, in France, and his lower duodenum ruptured. You usually have like 5 to 6 hours before you're dead because you're spilling all that junk into your cavity. And it was a weekend, so they couldn't find a surgeon in France. And after 8 hours, he died. Now, he thought when you die, it's just unplug the computer, screen goes blank, there's nothing. And that's not what happened. And instead, he said he was standing there by his bed. He felt the worst he had ever felt in his life. And suddenly he feels wonderful. And he doesn't even know he's dead. Like, he doesn't realize he's dead because he's sitting there thinking, something happened. I feel wonderful. And he feels these new senses. This group of people then come into the hallway, and he can see them in the hallway, and they're calling to him, Howard, come with us. And he said, I'm sick. I need a surgeon. That's what he's been waiting for. And they said, oh, we know all about you. Come with us. Don't you want us to help you? We're going to help you. Come on, we've been waiting a long time. Come with us. Okay, so time out. I like to point out that not every near-death experience is as deep as others, like meaning all the elements. So some just there's an out-of-body experience and they're back in.
Okay.
Those can be interpreted in a million ways, right? A million worldviews can wrap around that. If Howard had at this point come back to his body and been resuscitated, his interpretation probably would have been, hey, it's all good. Atheists go to heaven. It feels great. It's nice people. Everything's good. But that's not what happened. So he starts to follow these people. And again, time and even distance, it doesn't work the same on the other side, which I don't fully understand that, except that by analogy, think about, from here to Austin, Texas, where I live, Nashville to Austin, it's a long way, right? It's a 2-hour flight. But what if I could think it and be there? How far is it now?
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, distance doesn't mean the same thing. So on the other side, so he couldn't tell, and he follows these people, and he starts to realize they're deceiving him. They're starting to mock him. They're cursing him. They're all these, and he starts to realize this is not good. And then he realizes he's in this darkness, and it keeps getting darker, and he tries to say, hey, I want to go back. And they're like, you're not going anywhere. They start pushing and shoving, and he's he calls it a darkness that's darker than black. And I've heard people commonly say that. Jesus called it the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, meaning like just, it's, I don't know, I guess just horrific. And that's what he experienced. And so he finally realizes he's being deceived by these creatures that he couldn't fully see completely, because they were kind of veiled. But now it's dark and he can't see them, but he can feel them, and they start to maul him. He starts to try to fight to get away, and they're having fun. So I've had him talk to me about this 4 times, and he starts to describe it. And then he says to me, I can't go any farther.